Hello, y'all. This is Darryl Lee Berry Jr. back for some more critiquing Saturday nonsense, as well as the um, awesome debunking that people like MC Toon and others do on Sunday instead of Saturday. Just as an update, I'm working on having a debate that's been offered on my side, at least, is set up for should be the 20th on MDD. No, excuse me, yeah, the 20th. So it's still in the works. I'll keep you updated, and hopefully that one comes through. But if not, we'll see what else comes up. What I'll be doing is picking up with the Veritas, as the title says. This is part 5, and basically we're on the part where they're talking about angles. Just in case, might check and make sure I didn't overlook my spot. I believe I have the right spot, but won't hurt. And what I'll do, probably take about an hour and go through a little bit more what's going on, give a little bit of uh commentary about how it's going, and see if we get some more of the flat earth nonsense ironed out, as it were. And it looks like the right spot. So we'll go ahead and take it from there, and we'll see how this goes. So right now we're talking about angles, and we're basically seeing how flat earthers don't understand math, even though they make a lot of mathematical claims, like we see too far or buildings should be leaning away. I'm familiar with the concepts. I guess just what amazes me is that uh, they don't seem to grasp the baselessness of their position. It's find it absolutely amazing. Um, I probably should do another update on the new perspective, guys. Pretty much the same old, but it's I brought up the Discord. It's still the same old, but that's even part of the fascination that even after you point, because at first it's like you're pointing out the nonsense, but you're not like telling them directly what the nonsense is. So maybe they just, you know, if you tell them directly, will that make a difference? Or no, you tell them directly, look at what's going on, look what you're doing, look what your thinking processes are, look at what your evidence is, lack of it, that is. It doesn't seem to make a difference. It just keep going like you didn't hear. More memes. So let's see where they're at now.
3 people create a triangle with 90 degrees between each of them.
Right, so they create an equilateral triangle with they're the observers.
With 90 degrees at each corner of the equilateral triangle. That's on the flat Earth. Okay.
So you asked for the math. I showed it to you. You asked for the zooming of the boat.
Math
I
was
showed
wrong.
you the image.
Yeah, I showed you that the math is wrong.
Hey, what's going on, Rick?
I showed you the official Pythagorean proof of curvature, which fails at 3 miles. You don't like
Sounds
that?
good. That is a good time for you.
The fraction gets rid of that.
The official.
What do you want, man?
I want you, if you're going to talk about math, to do it right.
Because we're going to look at something, trigonometry here. Can you just explain to me, just so I know that I don't need to explain to you, pretend it's a maths test. Let's pretend that you've got the angle that I've given you, and that you've got that distance on the blue line that I've given you. And all
This, by the way, was one of my favorite flat earth debates when uh, uh, conspiracy cats just absolutely the whole debate was just wreckage. Yeah, just the way he pointed out his ignorance, took a running tally of all the stuff he was wrong about. Um, it's amazing that these people come back from this. People were saying, Alan and Toby probably not going to show their face after the debate that he had with me and Tony, but a few days later, he was back talking about Mickelson Morley, trying to act like he actually knew what he was talking about. he plugged in some of the holes, like some of the ignorances I pointed out. Like I guess he looked up some definition real fast about proper time. He just rattled that off real fast when it wasn't even needed, just to, I guess, show you that he knows what it means now. But that's just how surface level these people are, and they just try to find some little fix real fast just to sound like they know what they're talking about. And to them, it means they know what they're talking about. So apparently Nathan was still at it as well. And I'm pretty sure after this was when he did the little thing where he was trying to flat smack, as they call it, the kids at the playground at the elementary school, and he got arrested. So they're not deterred.
All I'm asking is, forget the Earth, forget Polaris, forget anything like that. Treat it as a maths question, because I want you to know the significance of what's about to happen. How would you calculate the distance to Polaris there? How is your trigonometry? Can you do it? And by the way, trigonometry is something we teach to 12-year-old children in England. I'm just pointing that out. Can you calculate that distance?
So your argument is that the north, I personally can't calculate that. I don't work in kilometers. I normally work in miles. And
so the question is, does he really think that whether it's in kilometers or miles will make a difference to the solution? Is he just understands that he doesn't know, and he's just trying to cover over the fact that he doesn't know? I don't know which one is worse, but either way is bad.
And the distance to Polaris, I'd have to see your measurement. I'd have to see your measurements for the distance to Polaris. Is that what you're trying to show right now? Is triangulating the distance?
No, it wasn't. I'll carry on with
And Real Cognitive says Katz was a boss at this anti-flip group, and his songs were funny as fuck too. Guess I can't say I remember any of his songs. Maybe I need to and before or after his videos. I guess maybe because I only saw him on, usually he was on somebody else's channel. I think that's the only time he really did some debunking. But I noticed he had, like they mentioned in this debate, he had some guitars in the background. So yeah, I guess some other things came up, and he's was not doing it anymore at the moment. But he was pretty good, man. I know he's like a professional physicist and mathematician, or both of them. Like he actually did it for a while. Awesome. Well, it was good while it lasted. Maybe he'll come back again like I did. I was off for a while. I plan on keeping it going this time. Maybe he'll come back. I know DFE, think he's doing a business venture or something. But he was pretty good as well. So I guess a few come and go.
Everyone who's watching understands the point I've just made.
If you have a triangle,
and let me know if I need to adjust the volume in any way. I'm looking at it as well, but just in case I'm missing it, let me know if I need to make myself louder or lower, or the video louder or lower. It seems moment, but let me know real cognitive if I should change it.
With sides 1, 1, and 1, what are the internal angles?
Oh no.
Oh, come on. Come on.
All right,
maybe. 90 degrees.
So,
90 degrees, maybe.
So all right. So now let's say you have 5 and you divide by 0. What's the answer?
Here, 5 and 0.
I'm gonna speed up a little bit.
The HO is the I.
That is a bit esoteric, by the way.
I'll scroll down here. Here's the derivation of
again. I remember looking at the divide by 0 thing, but I don't remember what it was. I know I ran across it, but they should, if they want to debunk all of science and know the angles of a triangle are. I mean, that's pretty basic, especially when you're talking about the angles to the sun and things on a supposed flat Earth.
Formula and the correct formula, right here. Formula 4 is the correct formula. You'll see here H sub H is the hidden height. The HO is the eye height of the observer. Now, when you use 8 inches per mile squared, where do you put in the eye height?
That's too many numbers and letters for me. I don't understand that. But
okay, right here, sine of pi over 6.
They said that's too many numbers and letters for me. He can't. Wow. I remember the
equal to 1
30 degrees. No. Do it.
30.
Why do you guys think they're going to not argue over something even deeper? Come on now.
Okay. Because you're wrong. Okay. Because none of this is right.
I wonder if he might be
Your
trying
false
to
attempt at math.
mention up
Yes.
a few things.
In Sweden, I don't know what's the educational system there like. Do you do trigonometry in high school?
They probably do, but I I'm a artist. I don't care for brainwashing. I don't care for brainwashing.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't care for brainwashing.
Or even just close to the moon. Okay, the moon, they said, is 10 to the negative 11 torr. For those of you that want to know what that is in PSI, it's a negative 2 billion PSI. So basically a full fucking vacuum.
There's no such thing as negative PSI, but okay.
Wow.
That's what the scientists tell us.
So he's mistaken the negative on the exponent for a negative number, which I did a debate with Wotan, and I'm pretty sure he was doing that too. He's a liar, as changes his answer once it's proven wrong. But I suspect he was doing the same thing. But then during it, he started to align better because he was saying negative pressure at first and yelling it. Actually, it was pretty funny. And unless you're just bad at explaining, but either way, it's pretty clear that some of the flat earthers are so bad at math they think the negative exponent is a negative number. Yeah, man, they believe math is brainwashing. And the thing about it is, like, if we go back, I mean, he's obviously there's a camera there. There's some processing going on. There's a computer. If math is brainwashing, why is he using a computer and a camera? All of these things have a lot of math in the inside. I mean, just to get the power to it is a lot of math. Just the electricity to power it. And then you have the actual processor itself. And then the programs inside the thing. It's just, it's amazing. It shows the absolute disconnect, real cognition, that these people have. They have this near total disconnect from the ideas and thoughts they have and the reality of the world that they live in. There's some kind of way they've managed to put themselves in this psychological bubble where they just have these crazy ideas, not realizing how divorced they are from the way the world actually works. Is crazy. It's right. And real cognition says, and right, all of it requires math. Every single bit. And multiple levels of it, because even the math requires math. Because we might type in, we might fashion a program where we type in 1 + 1 = 2, but underneath it, there's a math translating that to computer language. And so, I mean, it boggles the mind, man, how ignorant these people are, how unwittingly ignorant. Man.
Billion PSI. So
I'll tell you what, real cognition. And I plan on actually making a thank you video to the flat earth people. And what I want to thank them for is they make me appreciate so much more. Like before I knew about flat earth, frankly, I didn't really apply myself in school really. And I can't say I always apply myself 100% now. Sometimes I get a little fatigued or whatever. But I mean, back in the day, I just literally was like, I still made it out with a B from high school, but I can't really say I was really applying myself. I really appreciated what I was learning. But now, when I see the state of these ignorant people, and I appreciate the learning a whole lot more. So I think the depth of my learning is better. Because when I'm in class, I'm even thinking about it. Wow, flat earth just can't even conceive of this because they don't believe that space is real. It's just like when I'm in the cosmology class or something, or it just. I do appreciate learning more, so I thank them for that. I'm gonna make a thank you video.
Basically a full fucking vacuum.
There's no such thing as negative PSI, but okay.
That's what there's the science.
There's another one who was really good, who I don't see as much anymore, unless it's just me. Do you see Red's rhetoric a lot? Yeah, man. The thankfulness of the example.
Scientists tell us is that it's 10 to the negative 11 torr is the pressure or negative.
Just a quick question. Do you think a negative exponent makes it a negative number?
Dude, I'm using your guys' numbers. That ain't my number. I don't think that exists at all. I don't think it exists at all. I'm using the number that your NASA scientists and your astrophysicists use. This
But
is
if you
the
don't
number that they
understand
use.
what they're talking about, then how can you properly decipher what they're telling you? So
It's
again,
the absence of positive pressure.
I go back to my original question. Do you believe that a negative exponent on a number makes that number
What is good? He's
negative?
still around.
I'm just telling you what the fucking number that your people give us. What is it then? What is the number? What is the pressure of space?
It makes
What
it
is the pressure? Hold on, Red. What is the pressure of space?
It makes it a
Too
decimal.
bad we never saw him on camera though. We don't know what Rez looks like, but he's always good though, especially when he goes out and gets his own rocket videos of the SpaceX launches and stuff. I saw one debate where the flat earther kept trying to go back to NASA or something. And he was like, dude, I brought evidence. What about my evidence? Well, NASA lies. It was,
Point, not a negative number.
Okay.
So for you to say
Cool.
that NASA is claiming that they're asserting negative PSI means you fundamentally do not understand what NASA's been telling you. So this entire time, you've been arguing
10 to the negative 11. Okay, well, you tell me what the pressure of space is then, Red.
Or you want to evacuate the chamber so that you can do it in a partial vacuum, like 10 to the negative 17 torr, right? Is 10 to the negative 17 a negative number?
I mean, it ends 17, so yeah.
Now, let's be honest here. There really isn't any shame in forgetting so much of the basic math that we learned in middle school, especially if we haven't used any of it since then. It would be a bit cruel to just make fun of a random person for not knowing some geometry trivia. But remember, we're not dealing with any old random person. The difference between a normal, intellectually honest person and the types of flat earthers we've seen thus far is their hubris. Their entire worldview is dominated by a belief rooted in math they should have learned when they were about 14 years old. Basic math they consistently do not understand, while at the same time attempting to argue that they actually understand these and other drastically more advanced concepts more than all of the scientists and engineers on the planet. This has less to do with somebody's intelligence and their ability to memorize equations, and more to do with their competence and self-awareness. Flat earthers are the essence of the Dunning-Kruger effect.
so at first I was a bit taken with where he was going. He was like, you can't fault anybody for forgetting the early stuff, because these people are claiming that all the science is wrong. They're claiming they know better than everybody else. And of course, that's just what he said. So that's the difference. So, and this is one of the things that I guess flat earthers in their delusion don't see. Like when we accept the evidential observation, the evidence-based approach to science, there's tomes and tomes written on any particular subject you want. You want to know about gravity? There's tomes about that. You want to know about thermodynamics? There's tomes about that. I just picked those two things that flat earthers say are wrong and things like that. But the flat earthers come up with these crazy ideas about what's really going on, and they have no explanation, no predictions. They can't understand the most basic level of math. Even when they pull up the papers that, like I showed in my debate with Allen and Toby, they don't even understand the most fundamental math. But what they do is, and that debate is a good example, you try to get me to get into the nitty gritty of the paper. I don't even know I was debating y'all 2 days ago. I didn't read it that closely. But it doesn't matter because I'm not the one saying it's wrong. I agree with the scientists. So if you want to know the details of what the science says, read the paper. But you've shown you don't understand the paper, and you don't even understand the math behind the paper. So if you're going to say it's wrong, you should understand it a whole lot better than me when I'm just saying, look, my observations agree with what they're saying, that the Earth, if you look at the paper says the solar system is moving. The paper says that, the Earth is moving. Is the motion of the Earth relative to the ether? It says it, or read it right in the top. So even their language comprehension, just their reading comprehension is poor. But if you're going to say it's all fake, then definitely you should be able to show where it's fake. Right? But what they try to do is they try to make the person they talk to individually responsible for all of scientific knowledge. So then they can do like Caleb. Caleb is one of the best ones that just keep asking questions and asking questions. And then once they find a question you can't answer, they go, aha, see, the Earth is flat. But I don't have to be responsible for all of science. It's all out there written. You're the one that's saying something different and unique, and all of this stuff is wrong, and making up this azimuthal grid of vision and all the other stuff they make up. That's just the one that comes to mind. And it's all really about the ether. Well, then you should at least be able to know the math. You should know it as well as or better than the scientists you say are wrong. You don't even understand it as well as an undergraduate student, namely me, because I understand at least the fundamental math, even if I can't explain the whole paper. If you don't even understand the fundamental math, you don't even understand it as well as me. So, for the flat earthers, they don't see that. They are. I find it absolutely amazing. And Real Cognitive says, Reds and Astronomy Live have done some big boy, and that's just heart. There's a heart there blocking some of your text. See if I could try to real cute version. This is the speed of the ISS. Oh yes, I did see that actually. I believe it was Reds was at one location, and another guy was at another location, and they both triangulated the ISS, and he was able to get the distance and the speed and everything. I mean, I saw the ISS. I saw it come around twice. I remember I was talking to a Flutter Discord server, and of course, when they couldn't refute the fact that I saw it myself, they can't just say it's NASA lying to you or something. They just went to the old where it could be this or it could be that. If I remember right, that's what they said with Rez as well, where it could be this, it could be that. They just start making up stuff. But that's why they can't do actual observations because it'll prove them wrong. They have to just stay in this nonsensical world of make believe. I mean, that's what it is, make believe. It could be, might be.
On the x-axis, we have the students divided in 4 groups according to how good they performed in the test.
Ironically, by the way, here's a good anecdote. He's about to talk about the Dunning-Kruger. I actually saw a talk, at least part of it. I don't know if I saw the whole thing. One of the guys, because it's called Dunning-Kruger. And I don't remember which one it was. He was either Dunning or Kruger. He was giving a talk. And what he said was that their original intention for the paper and for their concepts was not what we call it now. But he said it became so popular, he just went with it. But I don't even remember him really talking about what their real intention was. And he also said it would be reversed. It would actually be Kruger-Dunning, not Dunning-Kruger. But of course, everybody just call it Dunning-Kruger now, so I guess that's just the way it is. But I think the way it normally would go is the way the order is on the paper. So on the paper, it must have been Kruger was just the first, and then Dunning was just the second. So that probably was Dunning talking. So really, it should be Kruger-Dunning. And also the way it's phrased now was not the original intent, but it's like it just kind of took a life of its own. So now they just let it be, what it is. But still, it's a useful concept. I mean, it does help and it does explain what's going on. But it's kind of ironic that it is sort of a bastardized version of their original intent, at least according to one of the two said in that talk I saw. It was a few years ago now.
The y-axis shows at which percentile a given test score stands in relation to all the other test scores. The graph for the actual test scores looks like this. The average score of the group with the lowest scoring students ranks quite low. The scores of the highest scoring students rank comparatively high. No big surprises here. Now comes the interesting part. If all the students had perfectly assessed their own performance, the graph of their perceived ability would perfectly match the graph of the actual test scores. Instead, it looks like this. The students in the lowest scoring quartile grossly overestimated their ability relative to their peers. They thought they had scored better than average, when in fact their performance fell
And
in
who
the
is that
12th.
real cognitive like a thing, Flatties? Pull everything back to what the topic was. And I'll look for the comment. I know it's a little bit behind. So I probably forgot to set it to real time, so it might be a little bit behind, but let me know who you were saying could think the flat. Yeah, Dunning-Kruger. That is true. That is a good point. I think they're one of the biggest embodiments of the concept I've seen. I think my debate with Toby and Alan is a great example. I mean, it was so. Like I remember that part. We were talking about, I guess, the Earth being curved or not, and I believe it was Colby that said, well, well, the thing about it is missiles don't account for it. Talking about curve, missiles don't account for it, and planes don't account for it, and this doesn't account for it. That's well, how did you determine they don't account for it? And you could tell he just was immediately lost. And then he just played stupid and was acting like he didn't understand what I was talking about anymore. He forgot what he said. I mean, it was amazing. But if you look at this graph, this is where he was. He was at 10 or below, and he had no idea what the hell he was talking about. But he thought he was at not even 60. He thought it was at 100. But the flat earthers are so stupid and so incurious that they just read the meme or see the meme and just repeat it. They do exactly what they say we do and just repeat the meme like on spam, just ratted it off really fast and believe it wholeheartedly. And apparently he never even considered how is even true at all. It was amazing. So, like you said, the flat earthers, Dunning-Kruger should thank them.
Percentile. This can be explained by the aforementioned concept of metacognition. If you lack the knowledge to answer
I
correctly,
can believe it, man. And Real Cognitive said in the chat, Shane Allen, Toby's confidence has grown even worse since then. I can believe it because, like I said, I noticed that at least one thing, what Allen must have went and looked up what proper time meant. Because again, there was that relativity, but I can see just from my measly undergraduate level understanding of relativity. I mean, I took a modern physics course, which was relativity. So I haven't even had a full course of relativity yet. 1/3 of a survey course was relativity, and I still understood it better than him. And he's talking like got a PhD in it, right? So, when I challenged him on it, he didn't have any idea. None of them had any idea what proper time was, right? But when I saw him talking a few days after that, he's on the talk trying to clarify everything. And I guess he just looked up the word proper time. So, like you said, they plug in these little holes, which they think is a little hole because they think it's just one definition, but it's a gaping wide 10, 20-year gap of learning hole from what they're talking about, right? They're talking about relativity. I mean, you can't even take that class as an undergraduate until like your junior, senior year, depending on what classes you take. Right now, I'm not even eligible to take the relativity class. I need to take a few more classes. I will be able to take it next semester. So these guys have no clue, and so it's amazing, man. So I can see it. And Shane is I mean, to me, he's a liar because, if anybody saw when I was talking about that, the screenshot is there when he was promoting them making Tony angry. To me, that seems dishonest. You're there to debate a topic, and he's trying to get them to just make Tony angry. That's dishonest. The flat earthers, if they were sincere in their government lies, so don't believe them, they would just immediately reject anything Shane has to say. But of course, they have these double standards to where, you know, we can lie all day and it's fine, but government lies about one thing that has nothing to do with space or NASA or anything, and you just can't believe NASA because it's part of the government, and you can't believe SpaceX because they work with NASA, and it's just this double standard that fuels their delusion. So, hold up.
you also lack the knowledge to correctly assess your own performance.
So at the end of the day, does this really matter? Does their incompetence when it comes to basic math invalidate their arguments? Well, all I can say is that it absolutely contributes to their inability to understand the implications of their worldview. Now, if they had a better understanding of even the most basic geometry and how to apply it to real-world observations and measurements, they might begin to understand some of the fundamental problems with their belief about the shape of the Earth. Recall that excerpt from Carl Sagan's Cosmos that I included earlier, discussing the experiment first done by Eratosthenes over 2,000 years ago, where he measured the differences in the lengths of different shadows cast in different geographical locations and observed the...
It is a hell of a way to go through life. Sometimes I feel sorry for them. It just seems sad. I mean, but of course, I guess like this, don't know any better. I guess it takes when they finally get out of it. Like for instance, speak truth, seek truth, speak truth. After he got out of it, I remember seeing a few videos of him being sort of remorseful at the wasted time or the wasted energy or effort or just, just realizing the sorry psychological state he was in for that period of time. At least he wasn't in it for long. But imagine these people that's in it for years. But I imagine some of them, I mean, they're never going to change. Like we saw the clip earlier. If you saw one of the other parts of this, where I believe his name is Flat Earth Saints was saying how he loves Flat Earth. He'll die for this, and it was like, he seems to be one of those people. If you brought him on a spaceship, he would say the windows are television sets. They're still in the set somewhere.
Lengths of those shadows varying in such a way that correlated with a round Earth and a very distant sun. Now, in 2017.
And by the way, keep in mind that if any flat earther brings up this experiment and just keep hammering that 2 of them work on a flat Earth, 3 or more on like was done, like was shown in this clip, we'll get to eventually in this documentary. And if I remember right, MC Toon did a Eratosthenes experiment with 3 or 4 other people, and with 3 or more people, it only works on the globe. And Real Kindness said, "Yep, there are a few converts. It's mostly just sad, but also absurd, occasionally aggravating, and fun, all in one." That's right. And I will point out, by the way, that there may be a lot of them, because of course, we only hear about the ones who go public with knowing better. Some of them, like I never forget, my first round of doing this guy would keep spamming my comments with his videos, challenging me, saying that I was wrong or whatever. So I took his video and I debunked it. It was about solar eclipses. That's one of my favorite things. If anybody's seen my debates, I love solar eclipses, or eclipses period, but mostly solar eclipses. So I debunked this video, and he just removed the video and just sort of disappeared. So there's no telling how many are like that. Like, he was making videos, so I was able to see that he disappeared. He just stopped spamming his videos on my channel, and he took that video down because it gets you realize he was an idiot. And that was it. I noticed he didn't take down his other sort of flat earth angling videos, but that seemed to be his most dedicated flat earth video. He just took it down or made it private or whatever. But imagine how many of them they just lurking in the comments. Like right now, there's like 2 viewing now and 5 viewed overall. So, maybe one of them might, we never even know. So I'm pretty sure there's a lot of them who we don't ever hear from, but how many of them are public that, seems like half of them. There's Rancy, there's Rachy, there's Speak Truth. If I remember right, Sean G was one. Uh, that's the ones that come to mind. And it's still only about a handful of them that actually still debate or whatever. So, but I imagine there's a lot more who are not. I know when he showed the Google trends up in here, it went down a whole lot. It was like a big boost in 2018, and it went down a lot. So maybe that's an indication of the percentage wise.
Varying in such a way that correlated with a round Earth and a very distant sun. Now, in 2017, a group of 23 volunteers from 9 different countries set out to replicate this experiment, all taking their own shadow measurements during the September equinox, the period where the sun crosses the celestial equator, and the results were aggregated together and presented in a video by Sly Sparkane. He used the data to create a visual representation of the observations that could be compared between the generally accepted model of our solar system, having a round Earth and a distant sun, versus the commonly held idea of a flat Earth with a local sun. During this equinox, when the sun is directly above the equator, when standing at 45 degrees latitude, which has the known distance of 5,000 kilometers from the equator, we measure that the angle to the sun is also 45 degrees. Now, the implications for the flat Earth model are clear and pretty much undeniable. When we do that pesky triangle math they hate so much, we can determine that the sun must be about 5,000 kilometers above the surface of the Earth, rather than the generally accepted 150 million kilometers. Now, this is what the basic geometry dictates, but good luck getting any number of flat earthers to agree on anything about their model, like the distance to the sun, which is, of course, a problem in and of itself, but I digress. Now, assuming that the Earth is indeed flat for the sake of this demonstration, we'd expect to see all of the angle measurements converge on a point pretty much bang on that 5,000 kilometer distance from the equator. The gray lines shown here represent the angle predicted by the flat Earth. Now, how accurately do you suppose the actual measurements correspond with the predictions made by the flat Earth model?
Factor provides balanced eating made simple.
They provide a new menu every week with delicious, nutritious meals.
I think this was beautifully done, by the way. This is awesome.
Now, it should come as no surprise that the elevation angles collected failed to correspond.
Do you have the link to this, real kindness? I tried to find this, and maybe I just didn't try hard enough to find it. Maybe I'm spelling the name wrong or something. Do you happen to know the link to this? I'll give you a. Let me see here. I'll give you a hammer. So if you ever get the link, you can post it. Awesome. Because I would like to actually see that original one. And this is so beautifully done. I mean, look at this. Look at this graphics. I'll just mute the volume so I could talk over it there. I mean, look at the graphics of this. I mean, this is wonderful. So it's showing the basically the angles all the different people got. And as you can see, they don't match. And then he's about to put it on the globe. I mean, this is a wonderful illustration right here. Look at that. The music and everything is just awesome.
Not only are all of the measured angles within 1 degree of exactly perpendicular to Earth's axis, matching the predictions of a globe with a very distant sun perfectly, but when mapping all of the angles of the sticks from each participant and continuing them down through the Earth, we can see they all converge nicely on the center of the globe. Now, this was a masterful demonstration of the power of combining conceptual models and mathematics with real-world observations, something flat earthers almost by necessity must either fail to understand or outright reject. Now, from the beginning, the shape either failed to understand.
As you said, it correlates with all of this. Timedit.com, which is one of my favorite sites. Suncalc.org, not familiar with that one. Stellarium, we all heard of Stellarium. That they can overlook this is I think is amazing in itself that they can overlook this evidence and how clear this is. And of course, you all know I did the Eratosthenes experiment myself. It was pretty easy to do. I just used a notebook and a box to measure the angle. It doesn't even take high precision equipment to get good readings of it. So just in case there's some new folks, let me pull it up real fast. So they can see what I'm talking about. Right. So I'll call the post on my website Earth Measurement. I'll actually go ahead and put it in the chat as well. Let's see if that took. Yes, it did. Oh, I'm going to do that. Okay. Awesome, man. I appreciate it. Whenever you can find it, yeah, just pop in. You can drop it as a comment or drop it in one of the live chats. Because I would like to see that original one. Seemed like it's hard to find, maybe because they mentioned flat Earth. You know, flat earthers do seem to be right about that. I have found it harder to find videos. Like even when I'm researching to like do a debunk or something, and I'm trying to find a specific video that I know I saw before, and I'm putting in the title of the video, and sometimes it's harder to find. So I don't agree with them doing that, but I understand the idea behind it. But if that's the case, then it might be something else that we don't want censored that's being censored, or something that's beneficial to us, but not beneficial to a tyrant that they want censored. You never know. But suffice it to say, I use this notebook in this box and got the angles of the sun. Found the subsolar point online to shut up the flat earthers talking about how we know the sun is that far away. Actually, got the angular size of the sun, distance from radar. I have that paper. We know the distance, we know the size. Therefore, it's a parallel rays or similar, near parallel. Did my trig, and voila, got the circumference of the Earth, got the radius of the Earth, and it's very close, as you can see, to the official value. So not actually that hard to do. And if you look at that link, there's also a link to the flat Earth comparison you can find on the side, and I show that it doesn't work on a flat Earth. So that's pretty easy to do that.
Understand or outright reject. Now, from the beginning, the shape of the Earth was not assumed or presupposed when all of the observations and measurements were collected, and each participant was operating independently from one another, and yet when all of the data was compiled and compared against what both models dictate, the globe scored perfectly, and the flat Earth completely and utterly failed. Not only do they not understand the consequences of what their model requires, and are unable to grasp how the math demonstrates the very basic problems inherent in it, but what's worse is that they refuse to accept that the essence of what these abstractions dictate even apply at all. They deny the practical utility, descriptive value, and predictive power of anything abstract, like models and formulas, fully believing that not only even apply at all. They deny the practical utility, descriptive value, and predictive power of any
practical utility, descriptive value. I think I want to actually type that. And I'll go for another about 10, 15 top of the hour. So, awesome. Thanks for the link. I shall check that out. I've been meaning to find that. How many people did that on Real Kindness?
They refuse to accept that the essence of what these abstractions dictate even apply at all. They deny the practical utility, descriptive value, and predictive power of anything abstract, like models and formulas, fully believing that not only do these tools have no practical connection to the quote-unquote real world, so they're effectively
to make sure I get it, but I wanted that to be on the screen. Practical utility, descriptive value, and predictive power. So these things, of course, are absolutely missing. Hold up. I think I pressed the wrong button. There we go. These things, of course, are absolutely missing from pretty much anything the Flat Earth does. Practical utility, the fact that, I guess the first thing comes to mind is predictive power, but that's already listed. But what's something practical that we can get? We can put satellites into space. We have the Voyager satellite, one of my favorite satellites. It's exiting the solar system, is my understanding. It was already past the solar system. It even sent the picture back from Earth. But because of our understanding of the universe and the fact that we can model it so accurately so that we're certain that we understand it, we can send a rover to Mars. And they actually landed a rover on Venus. It's so hot there it didn't last long, but it was there, and we have pictures of it there. We have the Mars rover. We have the orbiter around Mars. We do these things. That's the practical utility of the stuff that we know. Descriptive value. So, we could describe what's going on. We could describe, I guess, like the motions of the planets in the solar system, or how we know that the Earth orbits the sun, not the other way around. Is our understanding of gravity, things like that. And of course, the predictive power, my favorite thing, the eclipses. You can predict the eclipses. You can predict the locations of the planets. You can predict how far and near the planets will be, not only from each other, but from Earth. How you can predict how far and near the moon will be, which is how we can predict full solar eclipse versus annular solar eclipse, which is one of the things I keep hammering home with the flat earthers now. They have no answer to it. In their ignorance and delusion, they keep trying to say Saros cycle, but the Saros cycle is just about patterns. That's, of course, they're ignorant. All they do is just repeat the latest meme. So even though the meme is not saying what they said, it just keeps saying, "Look at the meme," and it just doesn't say it. And then they just have to eventually shut up or start making up stuff. It could be this, it might be that. So three things important to keep in mind.
Useless, but even to attempt to create and use things like models and math to understand and describe the world is inherently problematic. Flat earthers suffer from what I'd like to call Zoolander syndrome. When we try to explain to them some idea related to the globe, they call us morons for believing that billions of people could fit on a sphere that small.
Derek, it's just I don't want to hear your excuses. The center has to be at least 3 times bigger than this. He's absolutely right.
Business. I'm a Will Ferrell fan, so
they still don't understand the relation.
Excuses. The center has to be at least 3 times bigger than this.
Look, you're on the right leg. You should know better. Even though he knows it's just nonsense.
Absolutely right.
They still don't understand the relationship between math and science. They think that when we use math in science, that somehow the math is we're claiming that the math is being manifested in physical reality. No, it's not. We've identified something in physical reality, and we've identified the relationship in physical reality has a mathematical relationship to it.
So
unbonded.
It's
completely
because the atmosphere moves with the Earth, and it is using the atmosphere
You
to
have
create
zero
lift,
evidence
thrust,
for
and
that.
drag.
You keep making these fucking crazy claims.
It's part
that
of
you can't
right.
back.
This is my model.
Right,
if you want
right.
to argue my model, this is my model.
We don't live on a fucking model, dumbass. We're talking about
a model
reality.
is a description of reality.
No,
you fucking moron.
Talk about your model and your description of some reality that doesn't exist.
The other kind of evidence is the one that I'm not too keen on, and that's like evidence that's based or connected with like a model or a concept or an idea. And here's an example. The solar system, just in your mind, imagine the solar system. It's not here on the ground. It's not where you're seeing it. It's a concept, or it's like part of a model, like a heliocentric idea. Earth and all these planets are going around the sun. And it's not something that we actually perceive or observe with any of our senses. It's more of an idea.
How do you have data for flat
Now,
Earth
these are some
if
parts
there is no
I
flat
don't
Earth?
remember seeing. Like, I don't remember seeing that guy. Maybe I was doing something while this was going by the first time or something.
Okay, now this is a difference between a flat earther and somebody that's trained in science. I can imagine a flat earth. I can imagine.
So you can use your imagination a lot better than flat earthers. Okay, go
Yes,
ahead.
exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
go ahead.
All right. I can imagine if the earth was flat and I had a North Pole sitting on a pole 3,102.65 miles high. I can understand that if I'm standing directly under that, it'll be 90 degrees above me. If I start moving away from it in any direction, and I can calculate every angle because it's simple geometry. And I did that for every single degree from 90 to 0.
Well, that's your problem right there, Bob, is your imagination. The globe, you start with a presupposition. You imagine...
No, I started with a presupposition that the world was flat, and I calculated based
No.
on
Again,
the
why
North
would
Star.
you suppose? Again, why would you do that?
That you're able to ignore.
Notice, by the way, that his delusion and mental barriers would not allow him to hear and understand what the guy. He assumed that the earth was flat and did calculations based upon that, and observations and measurements, and then calculations based upon that, and the reality did not match the idea that the Earth is flat. The guy just keeps going back to him assuming the Earth is a globe. He just can't get past his meme level understanding. They just burn it into their brain, and it's just on repeat.
The sky turning above your head because you have a concept idea that the ground is turning. I'm not saying that you're wrong or something. I'm saying that you are able to ignore your own flawed perceptions in order to. So
because I have more accurate equipment I can rely on.
And
Absolutely.
That's actually exactly what I'm pointing out, is that you're relying on the equipment rather than your actual senses that you make.
I am not going to rely on my. I'm not going to rely on my senses when driving. I'm going to look at the speedometer.
Then you said predictions.
And this goes back to when I was doing that review of the Neil deGrasse Tyson response to Terrence Howard, and how very wise and informed understanding that modern science, how we broke away from the nonsense of flat Earth, for instance, is we started to develop technology that's more accurate and more far-reaching than our senses. You know, we don't see X-rays, but we know they're there because we have technology that can receive them and even produce them now. You know, we can use telescopes to see planets that the ancients were not able to see because they're not bright enough to see clearly with the naked eye. So these people are literally regressing centuries into the past in their thinking by limiting themselves to only what their senses say. But they've deluded themselves into believing that that's somehow some pinnacle. Believing their senses is somehow some pinnacle of the ability to get information about the world. I could just take off my glasses and I know that that's not the case, right? I mean, my eyes are not super bad, but they're not 20/20. The fact that they could ignore such a simple example as this is just, you know, you wouldn't expect somebody who's blind to rely on their vision, right? But according to them, then the world is just a bunch of darkness and fuzzy stuff. Because that's what people who have severe visual impairment, that's what they see. They need to rely on their senses. That's what the world must be. That's what their senses tell them, right? So these people they seem to not consider. That's something else I would add to that list. And maybe it's already there. And I made the points: practical utility, descriptive power, predictive power. What would that fall? Implications. Will that be included in one of these already? I'm not sure. Implications of worldview. The implications. The implications of what it would mean to literally only trust your senses, like Red just said. When you drive, you don't put your hand out or look at the ground to see how fast you're going. You look at your speedometer, which is an instrument that can measure your speed more accurately than you can.
Of a model, right? I've already went through this in one of our debates, right? Models cannot be observational evidence, right? Because especially mathematical models, because mathematics is not reality, it's numbers on a paper, right? But if you create a model that works in real life, that still doesn't give you truth, because I can create a model of something based upon certain elements and map it correctly. That doesn't mean that the model is true. That just means that the model fits for what I've mapped. You know what I mean? Like, for example, if the Earth really is a globe, but then I map all the points on the globe and then model it flat successfully, that doesn't magically make the Earth flat now, does it? No, it doesn't. So just because I make a good model, that's not observational evidence.
The obsession with models is weird.
So this is what I find flat earthers try to encourage people to be ignorant, try to encourage people to disavow things that we know and believe that we don't you as ignorant as them. So then they could just insert their indoctrination. Just like that that new perspective guy, and I'll wrap up momentarily and start here next time. Just like that new perspective guy, he asked them for evidence, more memes, asked them for some kind of observation, some kind of calculation that what he's saying is true, that that what we're saying is wrong. He brought up a link by Bisbing, Will Bisbing, explaining how airplanes, deal with the Coriolis effect, the calculations, no observations, just more just saying it's just wrong, it's wrong, and memes. But the only way he can do that is to get me to disavow awareness of all the calculations and observations that's there, which is what they do. They disavow what we can really see, ironically, even though they say that's what they want. And they just devolve to delusion and encouraging people not to accept. Don't accept that because NASA says it. Don't accept that because that's satellites and space are not real. So don't accept the satellite picture. Math is that's brainwashing. So the calculation says wrong. Don't accept that. Well, and then what's left to accept? Accept their memes and what they're saying in their videos. So it's crazy, man. But awesome. Thanks for joining Real Kindness. I appreciate it seeing you. And I'll be back. I plan on being back, not if not before then, definitely by the weekend again. So then I'll say Saturday or Sunday. So it'll be Saturday or Sunday, one of the two. And the week after that, if the debate works out, I'll be doing the debate on MDD on the 20th at 7 o'clock Central Time. So awesome. I'll check out that link. Anybody new who's watching, make sure you like and subscribe. If you haven't already, share. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers by December. That's the goal. So we'll see if I can reach it. All right, y'all. Thanks for joining. I'll see y'all later this week or the next week, Saturday or Sunday at the latest.